Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am currently in the worst traffic I have ever experienced. I usually leave work around 4. Today I left at 4:30 and it is currently 6 and I'm still like not even halfway there. I'm literally driving so slow, so it's like not even like I'm gonna crash. I'm currently like really on a like binge watching kind of vibe right now. I wanted to share with you guys what shows I have been loving recently. I thought it would be fun to mix in there like some shows that I have recently watched, like from January to now, and then I also wanted to show you like classics, because I know there are like a lot of classics that I kind of just found out about and I was like, how have I not ever watched this? So I thought I would just share the love. Coming on number 1, the one I'm currently watching, the one I have literally started watching maybe a week ago, and I'm literally already like completely done with it almost. I'm on the last season, or the last season is starting on the episode I'm on. Like I'm on the last episode of season 4 and there's only 5 seasons, but luckily this show has not finished yet, so it's still airing. Don't mind my pen, I like tried to look at this. This is how you know my dedication. I literally have like a napkin from my glove compartment, and I got a pen and I just started writing because my phone had died and it just was not turning on. So I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna start like getting my ideas. I'm so bored in this like bumper to bumper traffic that just clearly is not going anywhere. So my number 1 show right now that I have literally been completely and utterly obsessed with is called Lucifer. I don't know what it is about this show, but I'm just like freaking head over heels obsessed with it. At first I was like, I don't know if this is like bad, because it's like a different spin on religion, I guess. Like not on religion, on Christianity. Like the stories of the Bible like kind of changes it up a bit. Once I got past that aspect of it, I thought it was fine, because you know what, like although it's like kind of saying something that didn't really happen, or maybe like just it happened in a different way, you don't have to believe everything you watch. What this show's about, I'm gonna try to give you guys like a gist genre kind of thing to see if you guys would be interested. This show is to me pretty much a really cool, interesting twist on the devil, obviously Lucifer. In this show, I would say it's not really suspenseful. I think it's more of like a feel-good show, but obviously all feel-good shows also have like their drama, love stories, all this stuff once you get attached to the characters. And pretty much the story follows like the devil, who pretty much like takes a vacation from hell to LA. And this is on like the first episode, so I'm not really gonna spoil anything, but obviously there's epic love, one of those like super amazing epic love stories that you just like live for. The story pretty much like every episode is a new like murder investigation, and Lucifer ultimately like kind of helps this detective and their like partners just solve the crimes. And then obviously there's like a backstory, and at first my sister was like, no, that seems so intense, because if you read the description of it, it's like such an intense description compared to like what it is. But it's just like really funny. Like I feel like I really feel for it. I love it. It's just my type of vibe of like TV show, and I'm happy I found it. It's one of those that I'm like, how have I never found this show before? I feel like it's a classic. So I feel like I spoke enough about that one. Let's go to the next one. The one I watched before this one, funny story, one of my friends from high school posted on Instagram like a character from like a TV show, and she was like, oh my god, he's so hot, whatever. And I go, no one's hotter than Maluma, which is like a Spanish Colombian like artist, singer, whatever. I don't know if everyone like knows who he is, but in Miami like everyone knows who he is. And like he's obviously very attractive, so I said a joke and I was like, oh my god, like no, definitely not hotter than Maluma. She's like, no, trust me, it's from this show, it's called Suits, so aka Suits, the show. And she was like, oh, this is the show that like Meghan Markle was in. And I was like, oh, interesting, whatever. Like, I don't really know. Like, and I hadn't binge watched any show like for a while, because I had noticed that I was just getting like too attached to them. And I was like, like I'm wasting a lot of time like watching all these TV shows. Bro, people are so mean. Like, can they really not let me in? Like, if they're going anywhere, I wish I could show you guys without like turning my camera off or like moving the perfect position that it's in. But pretty much she goes, oh, like it's about lawyers, and I'm like, nah, not my type, I'm definitely not gonna watch it. She's like, no, trust me, like it's so good. And I was like, you know what, she's never like done me wrong. She always gives me them fire recommendations. So whatever, I start watching it. It's on Amazon Prime. What the show pretty much entails is, this is another one that I'm like, how did I not know about this show? I feel like it's such a classic. This show pretty much what it does is it follows along the lives of a law office, And it starts off with like a kid. He's not a kid, but he's like a young adult-ish, kind of like in his 20s, I think. They don't ever really say the ages, but he's like in his 20s, and he is like a genius pretty much. He has like a photographic memory. And oh my god, the lighting, whatever, we're just gonna bear with the lighting. He has like a photographic memory, and essentially like he finesses his way into like working with a lawyer, and like is pretending to be a lawyer. And it's another one that you're like, man, all these love stories, they really get to me. There's this one couple that I like I'm just like OTP forever. And then my friend who recommended this show, she is like going for the other couple like hardcore more, even though it's one of those shows that's like, ugh, just like let me have what I want already. Also doing like each episode is a case, like a law case, and then you get really attached to like the backstory of like this whole show. I watched that show. It's 9 seasons and it's already over. I watched that show and I don't even know, maybe a month before that one. I had seen another show on Netflix that I kind of was like, oh, it's short, whatever, let's do it. Oh, I have to write one down. That's like freaking go-to. Like, how am I gonna forget this? But I'm not gonna say that one until I finish talking about Virgin River. Virgin River is pretty much like, out of all these, the most feel-good show. Only light-hearted topics for the most part are on this show. Like, there are like, I guess, some drama, but it's like a very cheesy. If you've watched what's that show called, Heart of Dixie. If you've watched that show, it has such similar vibes to that show. Virgin River is about this like nurse practitioner who like her life is just like in shambles, like as much shambles that your life can be in, her life is in. And she moves to like this super small town to help out the like town doctor. And obviously there's like love, there's friendship, there's just like, it's a very feel-good show. It's also pretty short. It's on Netflix. Is this better? Oh shoot, I keep writing on things. And it leaves you on a cliffhanger at the end of the 2nd season. So far I'm like dying for it to come back. I'm like literally living for that show. That show was such a good show. I love any show that has a big romance in it. Like there are very few shows that I watch that aren't like having like a big giant romance in it. Like legitimately hardly any. Wow, I'm moving so much. 1 second, gotta focus on the road. That's on Netflix. That's also a banger. That's a quick watch. After I watched Virgin River, I had seen this show like before it was like trending all over everywhere and their mother. I had just seen like the like preview of it, and I was like, man, like this seems kind of interesting, but like I don't know if I'd be into it, because whenever there's shows that are like based in like the 1800s, I'm like, I literally do not know what you're saying. Like they use the weirdest vocabulary. So I was like, whatever. Like one night it was like 10 p.m. or something like that, and I was like, you know what, like let me just try it. So I started watching it and I got hooked on from like the first episode. I ended up staying up until like 6 a.m. to watch the entirety of the season in one night. Drum roll please. Bridgerton. Oh my god, I just beat by accident. Bridgerton. Oh my gosh, this show has got me like no other. Like that show, there are very few shows that I won't fall asleep watching. I usually fall asleep around like 1 in the morning by myself just watching TV. Like I'll fall asleep, but this show, like I legitimately could not fall asleep. 0% chance that I was falling asleep during the show. It caught me so good. I thought it was so interesting. Essentially it's like a 1800s version of Gossip Girl. Pretty much that's how I can explain it. It is about like these rich families that are currently going through like the mating season. And obviously back then in like the 1800s, like a woman's only purpose was like to be married and have kids and like support for their family. Like they didn't have jobs. Like they literally just were like, their purpose was just to legitimately like serve the guy, and like they can't really talk back to them. Like it's just like annoying. It's annoying to watch. It's like, bro, just stand up. Like there's so many points where you're like, bro, how are you not fighting him right now? Like he's literally being so freaking annoying. Oh my god, I'm getting blinded. Can't even see. For me to stay up watching it all night on one sitting is just like unheard of, especially if it's not a weekend. Like I literally had work the next day. I had to wake up an hour later. For me, it always gets me when like the guy is just so in denial of the fact that he freaking is madly in love with the girl, and then eventually like you're waiting like the whole freaking series for them to get together. As you can tell, this is a recurring theme throughout all the shows I have mentioned. I mean, for the most part, not all of them are like that. I'm not gonna say which are and which aren't. That's why I always like get very hooked. So on this show I got very hooked because obviously times were different, protocols were different, and you can get freaking exiled for like kissing someone in this time. Before this, in the beginning of quarantine, this is the first show that I was like, oh, like I'll try watching it. Like doesn't seem like my vibes, seems kind of annoying, but that's what always happens with the shows before I start them. And this show was again the first show I watched in the beginning of quarantine, and then all the shows I previously mentioned like right now were the shows that followed. I'm pretty sure I'm not forgetting anything, but I'm gonna go back. I have to go through my phone and like look, because obviously I'm here like writing on a napkin. But this show is Dynasty. Alrighty, so now that I stopped, Dynasty is essentially another story about about a very rich family that pretty much, I think it's based in Atlanta. I think it's Atlanta, Georgia, and it's like this very, very filthy rich family, like the richest family there, and they're pretty much like, I guess, a dynasty, and it follows along like all the corruption, love, friendship that goes on in their lives. This show kind of has to create their own plot because there's no like underlying like hovering like idea around it, other than that it's like a very rich family and it follows their lives. The only thing I could say that they mentioned in the first episode is that obviously there's this family, and then the dad owns like this really big company, and the daughter really wants to be next in line. So that's the only thing I remember that like kind of was like where it all started. But I would definitely say that this one is like a major must watch. Traffic has finally, it's been 2 hours currently. I'm looking forward, so don't you worry, I have my glasses on. But I just spent on another red light writing down a lot of other shows that I watched during quarantine that I freaking love. Another really, so one of those that I kind of had forgotten about, me and my sister had watched it in one sitting because it was one of those that Netflix just releases, and it's Emily in Paris. That one is a little cheesy, the acting isn't amazing, but it's definitely a really good feel-good show. It's like maybe like 5% drama, the rest is like very happy. It's pretty much about this girl who like moves to Paris for a job, and she just starts posting on Instagram like all these, mind you, randomest photos known to man, and she just becomes freaking like Instagram famous. I'm like, I freaking wish if only it was that easy. I literally put so much effort into my YouTube videos to just post like a plant or like a tile on the floor, and then I'll just get like 50,000 freaking views and followers and all this stuff. And it's pretty much just like her navigating this new life, and it's really good, short, feel good kind of watch that if you ever like want to do like a little binge watch thing over one weekend, you could definitely do that. The last 2 shows that I've watched during quarantine, the first one is one that I recently just watched with my boyfriend, and it's called His Dark Materials. And it's what I've heard from what he told me is that it is like a spin-off kind of, I don't know if it came first, I think it came after The Golden Compass. I've never seen those movies. I mean, I probably watch them now because I really like the show. This one is one of the the most intense ones I've watched, because I don't really like to watch very suspenseful things. It gives me anxiety, it makes me stressed, and not like to think about those like really dark things. There's this like world where every human has a demon, but it's spelled like D-A-E I think, M-O-N, and it's not like a demon, it's just like an animal that's like kind of like I feel like their demon is like their soul in a way. Like they're attached, they can't be away from each other. Like if you hurt one, it hurts the other. It's really interesting to see. Like at first you're very confused, you're like, why the heck do these people have animals, and they're all different, and it's super random. It all starts off with like this baby that just gets dropped off at this like college. She had to grow up there to be safe because of a prophecy, I don't know what, and you're like, what's going on? Like it takes you like a good 2 episodes to actually like be like, okay, now I'm kind of starting to understand, just because like it's kind of confusing at first, because of like the topics that they're like explaining are very intricate and like mystical. It's not like your norm. Without ruining anything, it's based in like the year we're in now, but like if it was a different universe. So like things are just different. So they don't have like advanced technology, they dress like very weird. There's not really much love stories here at all. It's more about friendship and like the greater good. And I will always give props to people who create TV shows that are unique and haven't been done before, because you know all rom-coms end the same. Like a lot of TV shows are very similar, so it's like something that's really different always catches my attention, and I would like to give props to them for that. Alrighty, and then the last show that I watched during quarantine that I could remember, I'm pretty sure I've maybe watched like a couple little like home improvement shows or like whatever. I also heard Fixer Uppers coming back. That's like a freaking OG. That's one of my favorite like Fixer Uppers, like house improvement, house renovation shows. This show I'm talking about is Gilmore Girls. Obviously this show is not new. Gilmore Girls is obviously very old. And I never watched it because I was like, this show seems so boring, seems so slow, seems so stupid. Like I'm not gonna watch this show, blah blah blah, whatever. For some reason I always like maybe I'll try it, blah blah blah. I tried it, bro. I got freaking obsessed. I got so into it. That was a show that really got me, just like Bridgerton and Suits and Lucifer. One of the most feel-good shows. There's like legitimately no negativity in the show other than like maybe like heartbreak. It's a very happy, naive kind of show because they live in like a very small town as well. Like very small town where everyone literally knows each other. There's like town meetings and everything. And it's a story about a single mom and her daughter who essentially are just like living their lives. And you come along the ride. It's really beautiful because you see their relationship is so close because her mom had her at such a young age, and it's really awesome. Like you get very invested in that show, and I would say that that's a really good show if you just want to be like happy and like also interested and like entertained, because it definitely hooks you after a couple of episodes as well. I'm gonna mention now at the end of this video, because it's already really long, just like in a list shows that are like oldies but goodies. Number 1, New Girl. Super good show. It gives you sitcom vibes without it being like dumb humor. I know I said I wouldn't rap, but New Girl is something that I'm very passionate about. That show brings me so much peace. There's so much happiness in that show. It's one of the best shows ever. Gossip Girl, 10 out of freaking 10, not even 10 out of 1. Recommend that show. I love that show so much. I get so freaking attached to it. There's so much character development. Love that show. Gossip Girl, highly recommend. Vampire Diaries OG. Then there's the Originals, which is a spin-off of Vampire Diaries, and there's Legacies, which is a spin-off of the Originals. Love all 3 of those. Grey's Anatomy, obviously everyone knows about that show. Private Practice, which is a spin-off of Grey's Anatomy. Once Upon a Time is kind of like his Dark Materials vibes, where it's a really interesting idea. It's not the same vibes. It's a happier show. It's about like fairy tales. They do like such an interesting twist on it. I would definitely highly recommend that one. Jane the Virgin, top one of my favorite shows, Jane the Virgin. I love that show. It's such a great show. Alrighty guys, so I got at a red light. I'm gonna close out this video. I've already been filming for over 30 minutes, but it was just such a great distraction from like what I was doing. I feel like I definitely feel way better now. I was in such a bad mood after that like 2-hour drive. It's been over 2 hours now. I don't know what was going on. A road was closed and it was just really bad. I could not find a way out of it. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below what your guys' favorite shows are, because I'm constantly on the lookout for great shows. I know there are so many on my list that I'm currently wanting to watch as well, so I'm definitely on the lookout for more shows. So if you want to comment down below some options, please do. I would highly appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video if you enjoyed it, if you want similar videos to this. Hopefully not driving in my car, bumper to bumper traffic, straight sunlight beaming on me. You can see my like filming right here, like a shadow on me. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, all of that jazz, and I'll see you guys next week.